Um, Welcome back. This video may become very muddled and confused and all over the place. The time which has since I last posted a video has been all over the place. All the plans which I mentioned in my previous video, well, actually no, that way, that's where the window is, that's where they went, out the window. Coffee. There is going to be cross stitch. There is going to be a wee bit of hardana. There's going to be some spinning, and I've actually realized I need to get something, but I'll do that later. A wee bit of knitting and future plans, which, well, considering what happened to the previous lot of plans, they're not carved in stone. I have two and a half finishes. The half is because I can't actually show you the finished object. But I had said in my previous video that I was going to work on my nativity, my woodland nativity scene. I haven't touched it. I haven't touched the cranes either. I was working on the red arabesque type thing, and that is actually one of my finished objects, and it ended up looking like this. If I can figure out how to make it work, I will insert a picture of what it looked like the last time you saw, but this is the finished thing. I was a bit worried about what would happen when I was going to wash it, because I had noticed that sometimes if I had to unpick stitches, it was as though there was some residual colour left in the fabric, but fortunately no disasters. So I want to make some more of these using some of the other variegated threads. I thought I had found some fabric, but it turns out the count is just a wee bit off compared to this. Mum is going to look to see if she might have something that matches this, otherwise I may have to work the others on a slightly different count. Not much. She checked it, and the thing was that I would be able to fit in 11 stitches in the same space that 10 stitches on this. So it's not much, but well, 10%, that does make a difference. But so one finished object just a few days ago, because much of this time has been spent finishing things and working on old project, old whips. Okay, so you may have seen, if you've watched some of my previous videos, you will have met my toucans. And I said that I wasn't expecting to finish them until July. Well, I can't remember if it was the 30th or the 31st of May, but I finished it. I have a picture which I will try to insert, but again, I'm in a bit of a stressed for time at the moment, so if it gives me a lot of grief, then I'm not going to bother. I have a picture of it before it was washed and pressed. And I can't show you it because it is at the framers. And the day when I finished it, it didn't really sort of, yes, I knew I was finished. And I redid some of the stitches which were looking rather thin and straggly. It wasn't until the day after that I actually really realized that, oh my god, I have finished this. I can't, yeah, and I'm getting a bit emotional here. I can't put it into words what it means to have slain that particular demon. My inner 12-year-old has been all over the place. So, it is at the framers. It will be a while before we pick it up because it's over on the other side of the water, and I will have to go for a check-up evaluation at the hospital at some point in July, and we will be picking it up then. So you won't get to see it until sometime mid-July, but then you'll get to see the fully framed thing. And I've never before had a thing framed, but I knew I wanted this. And actually then my mum said she was going to pay for it. Yeah, I am so looking forward to seeing it finished, fully finished in the frame with everything. And I have had plans on getting some picture rails for some of my walls, and that has been hanging about, but I'm definitely going to July, then I have to start getting some of the picture rails bought and put up. There are 3 of my walls where I will be able to hang it, but you'll get to see more of that sometime in July. That the only explanation for what has been going on since is that the release of having that my oldest whip conquered, my oldest cross-stitch whip conquered, because I have been finishing things in various crafts and working on lots of old stuff as well. So I seem to be umming and erring a lot. Please forgive me. The next finished object is one I started, I think, in 05. It's from, I think it was Cross Stitch Crazy December 04, maybe November. And it was the freebie kit thing that came in the pattern was in the magazine itself. And it wasn't really my thing, but at that point I was working and I had a colleague who had a little girl, and what I had seen of her, this small stitch reminded me of her, and I was going to make it and then give it to my colleague. And then, well, long story short, I quit and I moved, and I have since totally lost touch with this particular colleague, actually with them all, but so I actually don't know what I'm going to use this for. I took a picture of this when how far I had come when I picked it up. I'll put that here if I can figure it out. But this is the finished object. It's a series called All of Our Yesterdays, All of Our Yesteryears, something like that, which does these nostalgic sort of semi-Victorian, semi-Edwardian style children often. And no, it doesn't say. They had it was meant to make a small picture, so I actually have this paper thing which I could use. I'm not quite sure if I really like it, but anyway, it's done, and now I just have to figure out what I'm going to do with it. This is a picture of another very old whip, not quite as old as my toucans, but one that's been lying around. Once more, if I can figure it out, there'll be a picture of what it looked like when I picked it up. And this is what it looks like now. It's it's been nice picking it up again. Light and airy, and I am probably over halfway done now. And this is going to be in part of my future plans. And then I had this magazine, which is a cross-stitcher, September 2011. And there were these Margaret Sherry pictures, and I had started on that one and that one, and I was super inspired to get cracking on these again after watching Lindy Stitch's, Stephanie I think it is, because she was showing her finished Margaret Sherry, and she'd bought some magazines with other Margaret Sherry patterns, and suddenly it was, oh dear, I want to do all of the Margaret Sherrys. These were started, well, actually I think they might have been started in 12. I had some various friends, and one of them was going to go back to school, so I wanted to do the new school card for her, and one was moving, so I wanted to do the new pad for her. So that was in 12. I'm not really sure how many times they have moved or switched jobs since, but anyway. But there are still people I know who do begin studying again or who are moving, so I'll find a use for them. And I didn't work on the cat with the new school, but I did start on the frog with the new pad. Again, maybe there'll be a picture here of what it looked like when I started. And I actually had to unpick part of it because I had experimented with making some shading which wasn't working. And this is what it looks like now. And I was a bit worried when I started on this because that little girl was a pain. The magazine said she was quick and easy. Fractionals, both cross-stitch. No, actually maybe not fractional cross stitches, but the back stitching was all over the place. And on Aida, this one has fractional stitches, but I don't know, this Aida is much nicer to work with. That may also be part of the, also possibly not a small account. So, but I've been having fun with that. Okay, in the previous video I had shown the two pieces, the two musical pieces. This one which is done, and this one which was giving me the grief with the harp strings. And I want to thank you all who chimed in with suggestions and ideas. And I think I know how I'm going to work them. I haven't had the time and the frame of mind, and I probably won't be able to, because July is, well, there's all sorts of things happening from now until mid-July. So I don't expect I'll be able to do anything about them until August. But thank you very much for your input. That has really been awesome. I had also talked about a new project I was going to start when I was on holiday in Finland, and thank you very much for your input there. The vast majority said I was too, whoa, glare, let's see, can we, I think this is glare free, that most of you wanted to see this. And I will admit, I have been really raring for this. And I had been planning on using this grey natural linen. But then Mum mentioned that she might have some fabric in her stash, which might work. And I have decided I want to do it on this, which is linen. I have no idea, it may be permine. There's at least there's a permine tag, and it's a colour called tumble tweed, and it's a 32 count fabric. And can you see, can we get a non-glare picture? Let's see if we can do this. I think this is going to look much better than the grey, slightly mottled. And then I suddenly remembered something, which is that the lighting up in the summer place is not super conducive to crafting. This is 32 count. I have already discovered the need for using reading glasses when I'm stitching, and also I need better light more than I used to do. And then I started thinking, okay, I don't think this is going to. Well, my camera shut down on me while I was talking about this project, and how I had realized that this is not going to be a new start quite yet. Sometime in July though, because now I've finished 3 whips, and there are some which I am pretty sure will be finishes pretty soon. So I am going to, yes, so I'm not bringing that woodland creature picture with me on my holiday, which is, incidentally, I leave tomorrow, which is one of the reasons I'm a bit confused and nervy and all over the place. I have been dealing with travel, brain, nerve stuff for almost 2 weeks now. This year it's 80 years since the family started coming to our place up in Finland. They didn't own it at that point. Meow. Ramses. Maybe he'll come and say hello. The family didn't own it. I think my grandfather bought it after the war. There was some law passed which meant that veterans could buy land at a cheaper price than what it would have gone for otherwise, and grandfather bought this place. I think it was in connection with his work that they had access to it, and when I'm talking about the war, I'm talking about World War II. Come on. Someone wants to make an appearance. He's been getting a bit nervous. He's been walking around my suitcase and not being too happy about its presence. And he can probably also tell that I'm all nervous, so he's been a bit clingy. Anyway, it's 80 years, the 80th anniversary, and there's going to be a bit of a family celebration, and we will be some 21 people in all, which, I mean, I'm pretty stoked about this, about getting to see lots of family members, some of which I think I last saw at my grandmother's funeral in '94. That's a long time ago, but I don't really do well with lots of people, so I am also, there may be some family members there that I have actually never met before, because some of my cousin's children. I am pretty much excited about it, but I'm also sort of nervous and dreading about it, which is part of my brain fog. But I'm leaving tomorrow and I'll be gone for 12 days. And I think all crafters are always facing the dilemma, what do they bring? And well, I'm not bringing the woodland creatures, but I will be bringing the cats, because it isn't unrealistic to think that I might finish it up there. I am going to bring one of my Mill Hill Santas, the Genoese one. I haven't started him, but it's not unrealistic to think that I can be able to finish him. And then I went looking through my whips, and this is a relative newcomer. I started him, I think, last autumn. And I don't have a picture of the finished piece, but this squirrel sitting on a branch holding a nut. And it's not unrealistic to think I might finish that one as well. Whether I will be able to turn all three of these projects into finished objects, that's something else, but those are my cross-stitch projects that I'll be bringing. I'll talk about the knitting stuff later. And this actually concludes the cross-stitch part. The next part is Hardanger, and some of you may be familiar with Stitching with a Smile, Nina, who is kindly hosting a Hardanger along, and I am all caught up now, and it is getting to be very colourful. And we have finished all the satin stitches, so no more pearl cotton number 5, now it's the number 8. I will be behind when I get back. I will be not entirely, but very much the phone. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. That was Dad phoning to say that he has actually checked this in already, so yay, we are now officially on our way. I had shown you the Hardanger along piece, and I also showed last time a Hardanger piece that I had just started on. I haven't worked on that at all, and I'm not going to take this with me. I had considered bringing it along and then using some of the spare, the few options for maybe having some internet access, to checking to see if there was a new parts and watching it and then getting on, but that will have to wait till when I get back. So I'll be behind, but no worries. And now I'm going to move off into knitting and some spinning. I have managed to finish a pair of very stripy socks for my mum. This is a pattern I used one basic pattern and then made changes and modifications, and so I make a single rib sock, and I also have ribbing on the instep, I think it's called, and then just stocking it on the sole. And I have the size perfectly matched for my mum, and I don't know how many pairs I made for her. And knitting socks like these, is something which is easy peasy. I don't have to think a lot, which makes it a perfect travel craft. Also, it is something, knitting has been one of my ways of coping with stress and nerves and stuff. And, well, I may have cause to resort to knitting frantically the first few days while the whole family reunion thing is going on, because while I am intending to take lots of pictures and film and talk to people, I also know I'm going to have periods of time where I need time out, and then it will be perfect with socks. And then it's also with knitting, how many projects should one bring along? So I'm bringing along this colorway to make a pair for my mum, and then I'm going to make these tiger stripes for myself, and then I have this giant skein which is also going to be for me. And I might have enough in this to maybe even make some fingerless mitts. Actually, I might with all of them, but so I have plans, provisions, supplies, so I can knit 3 pairs of socks. And then there is another finished object. It may not look finished, but this I will try to get it so you can see the strands. Can you see the strands for size? This is a 4-ply hand spun. So it was actually something I had started on a Turkish spindle, but it wasn't really working. It's the first time I've tried working on a Turkish spindle. For people who aren't aware what a Turkish spindle is, it's one where the wall, the weight, the arms are at the bottom, and they are so intricately made that you can actually slip them off. You don't have to wind the yarn that you've been spinning. You don't have to wind that off the spindle, but you can just remove it. I'll try to remember next time to show that. But this was something I had started, I think 2 or 3 years ago, and not gotten far. And then I decided, I think it was the 2nd of June, I decided that no, I'm not going to wait. I'm just going to take my regular spindles, of which these are 2. They're the ones that I've used for this particular project, because these I can deal with. This is easy peasy. I've done it a couple of times, so that's the only reason it's easy peasy now. But that means that this yarn, instead of lying around mostly as just fluffy wool fibre, is now spun up, plied up, so I can actually use it for knitting. So another finished object out of the way. I had been considering maybe taking some spinning with me, but I've opted against that. And I think actually that this is what you're going to get this time around. I am not going to try to put pictures of Ærø or filming or stuff. I do have something I might be able to add, but the brain is already half fried as it is. I will be showing you stuff from Finland once I get back home, because I figure that, okay, this isn't sort of where I live as such, but it is, it's part of my life. It's an area I love, and you might find it just as interesting to see bits of Finland. We will be spending Thursday in Helsinki, the capital, and then Friday we'll be driving to eastern Finland, not too far from the border, and I will be gone for a total of 12 days, and it's more or less 2 day. No, actually we will be doing the whole trip home in 1 day, but we live at the back of Beyond here, and we are traveling to back of Beyond up there. So the trip up will consist of a cart to the ferry, then the ferry, then this time Mum is going to drive us to the train station, so instead of a bus we'll be going by car. Then we get on the train and we go to Kastrup airport, and there we get on a plane to Helsinki. And then when we leave Helsinki, that's with a rental car, and it's 4 or 5 hours worth of driving, and we will be having breaks in between. So it's quite a bit of a trip. So when I get back home, I will be totally smashed from the traveling, and I will be utterly ecstatic over seeing Ramses again. I know I'm going to miss him. I miss him already. So I won't be up for making videos the first couple of days once I've come back home. But and about a week and a half after I get back home from Finland, I'm having 2 people staying at my house. It's some friends we knew from, well, we didn't know her son, but we knew her from Italy, and she now lives in the States, and she's coming over with her son, and they will be spending, I think, 5 days, or is it 5 nights? So I have to also make sure that the house is tidy enough to fit in another 2 people. And that's going to be fun, awesome, and it's also going to wear me out. So you probably won't see a video from me until the end of July, because that's the earliest point where I can see me being relaxed and unstressed enough to cope with everything. But then you should be seeing a couple of finished objects and seeing pictures from Finland, so hopefully that will keep you happy. So anyway, I'm going to finish this and then see if I can get it all uploaded and up onto YouTube, and hopefully get all those pictures put in. If I can't get them in at the correct points of time, I might try to put them at the end of all of this, but I'm not going to fight the technology for too long. So also, if anyone wants to comment, I'll be happy to see that, but I will probably not be able to answer you right away because traveling and not necessarily in internet reach. So I wish you all a happy summer and hope to see you in the end of July, and have lots of fun, and see you then. Bye.